Hello, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Mary, and today's video is going to be my last book haul of 2022. I bought some books recently. I actually think I got all of these in November, but I wanted to go ahead and get this book haul out because I'm going to be talking about some of these books in a few upcoming videos, so I wanted them to already be announced and hauled because it always weirds me out when I haul something after I've already read and spoken about it, if that makes sense. It's not the end of the world, but it's just something that I have been thinking about. So I'm going to go ahead and do this haul now, and then I'll wait until January of next year to do a haul for anything I get over Christmas or any books that I get either as gifts or with gift cards from Christmas. So that caveat out of the way, I got all of these books in one place, actually. I got them all from Mill Street Records here in Kansas City. If you live here, it's in Westport. They have books and records. They have new books. They have used books. I got into trouble there because I was carrying around a few books. What I do when I go to stores is I go through books, like the stacks. I'm kind of a completionist in this way. I go through like every shelf. Assuming I have time. This day I had time. And I pick out all of the things that I'm interested in, and then I usually try to narrow it down to like no more than 5. This time, however, one of the people working in the shop came by and asked me she was like, "Oh, are those your books?" Because I had them sitting on the floor next to me while I was going through one of the middle shelves, and I was crouched down. And I was like, "Oh yeah, these are the books I'm thinking about getting." And she was like, "Oh well, I'll hold them behind the counter for you, so when you're ready." And rather than being like, "Well, I'm not sure if I'm going to get these yet," and explaining the situation, I just let her take them, and then I felt obligated to buy them at the end, which was fine. It's not like I couldn't afford to, but I would not have bought this many books at one time from one place without really thinking about it, had that not happened. I probably would have only got like 3 of these. But that being said, I'm going to go ahead and go through these. They're not really in any particular order. They're just reverse order of the way they were packaged up because I just pulled them all out and stacked them. So first up, I have A Beautiful Country Burn Again by Ben Fountain, which is a nonfiction book that I've been interested in reading. And I believe it is sort of an analysis of American history and talking about things that have happened in the past that have led to different revolutions that we've had and different changes, whether public policy changes or I think it starts with like the colonies and then the Revolutionary War, and talks about things as recently as like the Civil Rights Movement. I think he is going to point out some things in America's history that are sort of repeating now, in terms of civil unrest and the way that people feel about how the government is representing them, and talk about that. So I'm very interested in this, just as a citizen of this country, I guess. I don't know. Next, I have another nonfiction, which I was supposed to read in Nonfiction November, and I wound up reading a different book by this author instead because I had it as an audiobook and because it was on the list of Goodreads. It was on the Goodreads Choice Awards list. I didn't really like it that much. I gave it 3 stars, but this one I am still really excited about. This is Say Nothing, A True Story of Murder and Memory in Northern Ireland by Patrick Radden Keefe. Radden Keefe, I think. So Patrick Radden Keefe is was, I don't know if he still does this, but he's a journalist, and he worked for New York Magazine, I believe, and writes, this was longlisted for the National Book Award, so there's that. But he basically writes true crime, and this is like a novelized version, I think, of a story that he researched while he was working at New York Magazine, or it could just be something else. I don't know if that's true. I know that the book that I just read was called Rogues, and the subtitle was something like Grifters, Cheats, and Thieves, or something like that. But that was, I think, a compilation of stories that he had written for New York Magazine about different people over the years who got caught up in different types of crimes, which was interesting in theory, but not my favorite thing, but this is not about that. This is about a particular murder, I believe, that happened in Northern Ireland of a 38-year-old mother of 10 who was taken out of her home in Belfast by masked intruders and never seen again. And then I think this book delves into the IRA and the class tensions that were happening at that time, as well as the religious tensions between, I think it was Catholics and Protestants. And I want to say Northern Ireland was Protestant, the rest of Ireland was Catholic, which is why they ended up splitting. I don't know if this is entirely true. That's my assumption going in, because again, I mentioned this when I put this on my TBR. I don't know that much about To be honest, I don't know that much about European history in general. I never took a class on it. It's not really something that I was taught besides like the bare basics. I was not taught a lot of specific things. And so I don't know much about the IRA. But I am really interested in reading this. It is making me nervous. It's very chunky, or way chunkier than I was expecting. It's under 500 pages, but it's, hold on. It smells like cologne too, which is interesting. That's really weird. Okay, anyways. The next book I got is We Cast a Shadow by Maurice Carlos Ruffian. So this is a sci-fi book about a like near future world. It sounds like it's in America. I'm not really sure, but it's just called the South, I think. Oh, a near future southern city, and southern is capitalized. And it's about a society where being Black is even more like actually criminalized than it is right now. And so they have a procedure that you can undergo called demelanization, where you get your skin bleached and your lips thinned, and what else does it say? Noses narrowed, basically to give you more white passing features. And it's following a father and a son, and the son is biracial, but the father is doing everything he can to give his son the best life that his son can have. And so I think he's going to start undergoing these procedures. And it also says that the son has a Black birthmark that's getting bigger by the day. So I'm almost wondering if this is supposed to be like white skin with like a Black birthmark that's growing to cover it. I don't really know what that means, or if it just means that he's starting to look less like a white baby and more like a Black child. I don't really know. So I am excited to read this. It's relatively short, so I'm hoping it will be a good one. And it sounds pretty thought-provoking, so I'm excited about this. And I also finally picked up my first Haruki Murakami. I've never read anything by Haruki Murakami, but I've been hearing about him for like 15 years at this point. So I figured it was time to give him a shot. This is the Wind Up Bird Chronicle. I love this edition. I think this is so pretty. Just like the watercolor effect of it. And my understanding of this book is, I don't know very much about it. I know it's about a guy whose cat goes missing, and then I think his wife goes missing too. And so he's looking for his cat and then starts looking for his wife, and it's about the people he meets along the way. And this review says it's dreamlike, which to me could be a really good thing or a really bad thing. So I do want to read this at some point. I'm excited to own it. I think this copy is pretty, and I'm happy for it to be on my shelves. The next book I picked up was The Line of Beauty by Alan Hollinghurst. And this is set in England, I believe, in the 80s. And it's supposed to cover 4 years of this guy's life from when he's 20 to 24, I guess. And it's about him. I think he rents a room in the house of some politician in England at the time and gets caught up in their lifestyle and has an obsession with beauty. I don't really know what that means. The synopsis doesn't say that much about his obsession with beauty, but this is supposedly framed by Margaret Thatcher going out of power and coming back into power. I think the 2 general elections that returned Margaret Thatcher to power. Another thing that I know only vaguely about. So I am pretty interested in reading this. This also won the Man Booker Prize the year it came out, which I think was a long time ago. Let's see. Yeah, 2004. I am excited to read this. I think it'll be good. So next I have A Prayer for Owen Meany by John Irving, and this is another book that I don't know very much about, but I do believe it's considered a modern classic. I want to say this came out in the 90s. The back says that this is John Irving's most comic novel, but Owen Meany is Mr. Irving's most heartbreaking character, which to me sounds like this could be a favorite. This book is about a little boy who, I think he's playing baseball with his friends. I think he hits a pop fly or throws the baseball or something, and it somehow hits one of his friend's mom in the head and kills her. And then it's him trying to atone for that and like deal with the grief of that, I think. But I'm really excited to read this book. I've been wanting to read it for a long time. I want to say my siblings had to read it for school, but I was never assigned it. So I never read it, but I would like to now. Next, I got The Glass Hotel by Emily St. John Mandel. I want to say these books, because I think she's written a few, I think they're all connected, is what the lady at the store was telling me, and that I should You don't have to read them in order, but she recommended that I read them in order, and I think this is the middle one. So I'm probably going to wait to read this until I can read the other books first. I can't remember what the other ones are called, to be honest. I think they're like all sci-fi dystopian books. I don't really know what this is about, but it's considered a story of crisis and survival. And it sounds like it's about a bartender who meets a guy who's running a Ponzi scheme, and then when he gets found out, the bartender leaves him, and I don't know what this is about. I've read the back like multiple times, and I don't know how I could explain it to you. I think I would just have to read it to explain it. But it said it's rife with unexpected beauty, and it is a captivating portrait of greed and guilt, love and delusion, ghosts and unintended consequences, and the infinite ways we search for meaning within our lives. So, I don't know, this sounds interesting to me. For some reason, I think I got this confused with Station 11, which I think is by the same author, right? That's one of the ones that's connected with this. So I think I thought this was that book, and it is not that book. But either way, I plan on reading all 3 of those in whatever the recommended order is. I'm probably going to do a little more research into it to see if they're actually connected or if they're just similar themes, because if they're similar themes, I don't think it would matter. But the last book that I got was Cloud Cuckoo Land by Anthony Doerr. Doerr? I don't know. I read another book by this author that I actually didn't like that much. That was a World War II historical fiction, which is just something that I've read a lot and don't really enjoy. So I'm willing to give this another shot. I love this cover. I heard a lot about this when it first came out. It was nominated, if not won, the Goodreads Choice Awards last year. And I passed it every day at the school bookstore. So I'm glad I found it. I think I got it on sale. I might have paid full price for it. I really honestly don't know. Half of these were new, half of these were used. They're all interspersed. That's my one complaint about that store, is there's a section for new books, but they also have new books that aren't like brand new, just interspersed on the shelves, and it makes it confusing, I think, personally. But this is about an orphan named Anna in the 15th century in Constantinople. And apparently she learns to read, and in this ancient city famous for its libraries, she finds what might be the last copy of a centuries-old book, the story of Aethon, who longs to be turned into a bird so that he can fly to a utopian paradise in the sky. Outside the walls is Omir, a village boy, conscripted with his beloved oxen into the army that will lay siege to the city. His path and Anna's will cross. He likes doing that. Anyways, sorry. In the present day, okay, so yeah, that's what I thought. This does have 2 timelines where it's like the timeline in the 15th century and then the present day timeline, which is a playwright or a director, I guess, doing like a play adaptation of Aethon's story, which is the book that I think Anna found. And then it also has a future element. Yes, this is what I was thinking. Okay, good. So it's multiple timelines. There's a past timeline, a present timeline, and then a distant future? Not so distant future timeline in space. This sounds a little bit like, and it reminded me of from the first time I like heard about it at all. Oh gosh, what was that? What was that movie called? Cloud Atlas, right? Where I never read the book, but I know in the film, I think it was supposed to be a person like reincarnating over and over again, and we were just watching them live their lives. I want to say Hanya Yanagihara's new book, To Paradise, is kind of like that. Like, isn't it supposed to be a reincarnation story? I don't know. That's not what this is about, I don't think. But it describes all of the characters as dreamers and outsiders whose lives are gloriously intertwined. So I think this will be really interesting. There is a good chance that I will not like that book, just based on the fact that I didn't like his other book that much. But I am hopeful that I will enjoy it. So those are the 8 books that I picked up recently. Let me know in the comments down below if you've read any of these books and how you felt about them. Also, let me know if you have picked anything up recently. And I will see you in another video very soon. Bye!